Okay, we are back and we're about to start drawing the lips. Uh, you'll have to look to your model to see if this line, this little line we made, if that is corresponding to the seam between the lips, the top edge of the lip, or the bottom edge of the lip. You'll have to do some finger measuring to see where it fits on your model. If this was the person I was drawing, then that would be the seam between the lips. On this person, I guess it would be the seam also. Sometimes it ends up being the top lip, sometimes it ends up being the bottom lip. Let's see about this person. On this person, I think it would be the top edge of the lip. Um, on this one, it would be the bottom edge of the upper lip since her mouth is open. So you just have to look to your model and figure out what that line is going to represent. So let's talk about the parts of the lip. We already talked about this is the septum. This little lip dip here in this channel between is called a philtrum. A lot of people will have, now you can't see much of a bump on him. You have just a little bit of that lower bump, but you see more of it protruding, sticking out right there. Let's see, where's someone that has, but it's called a tubercle, or that little bump. The back to the rock. You can see it really good on his. That little bump there is called the tubercle. And your lips actually have 5 fat pads. Yes, it is fat pads. Without fat in our lips would be just a slash in our mouth. But in our lips, the fat pads are basically shaped. Oh, let me get that angle right. Like this. So that gives us that lip shape. And knowing that you have those fat pillows in your lips or in the lips you're drawing will help you with being able to shade the lips correctly. So what we're going to do, this is going to be, on my drawing, is going to be the seam between the lips. And that little tubercle, that little bump in the lips, I'm going to go ahead and draw that in. Then the bottom of, or the top of the philtrum, bottom of the philtrum, top of the tubercle, we have that angle. Some people don't have a lot of that angle. I personally don't. I don't have much of a dip there. This person also, she has a dip about like mine. Some people, it's very narrow. Hers is really tiny and narrow. The one on the rock is rather wide. On this model, it's not super wide, but it's very rounded. It doesn't have a lot of a point to it. On this model, it's quite wide. You know, it just varies. So so you have to look to your model. And then I got to make sure it's real easy for me to make my lips really, really plump and large. So, and then, oh, where does the mouth come to? The mouth comes a lot further than you think. If you take your pencil and if you're working from a picture, you can set it parallel with the nose and see where the mouth comes to related to the eye. For his expression right here, it's coming almost to level with his pupil. So, oops, I took my drawing with me. So let's come back over here, and I'm going to draw down from the pupil. Now, sometimes there have been some models we looked at that the lip only extended, like on this one, it's the edge of the, oh, sorry, let's get that back in frame. The edge is coming to just inside the pupil, but use your model as your reference and see where the edge of the mouth comes to. So, but we're on mine, I'm working from the pupil, but sometimes it'll be the inside. And if they're smiling, it'll shift over a little bit, but not a whole lot. It might be the outer edge of the pupil. So I'm bringing me a guideline down, super light, because we'll have to erase that line. So this tells me where my lips are going to come to. Okay, so I'm first going to draw this seam between them. And on most people, it kind of has that dip there and then comes back up. So it's a really soft kind of S curve. So we've already got the dip, so we need to come back up and over, back up and over. I've drawn this as a straight line. Once again, got to look to your model. A picture that I drew of John C. Reilly, his is very curvy and strange. And I mean, right now, this is not looking normal. It looks kind of deformed, but it will look better once we get this done. This upper lip curve, for some people, it's lightly curved. For some people, it's very curved. On Chris Hemsworth, get it down here where you can see, his actually curves inward a little bit. On this person, it's almost straight from this top point to there. So look to your model to see how to draw it to match them. Now, most of the time, it doesn't go all the way to this corner. Now on her, it kind of does. Some models, this upper lip is going to where it comes down. See, with hers, it meets that crease before you get to the corner of their mouth. On Henry Cavill, his upper lip meets the crease right here, still a quarter to a third of the way before you get to the end of his mouth. So it varies. More times than not, I've seen more lips that it comes short of that actual dot. So I'm going to scoot in a little bit, and I'm going to create here. So I'm going to scoot in just a little bit, and I'm going to have it somewhat straight, maybe a little bit curved, and do my lines. Now for the bottom lip, look to your model. It's going to be more straight right here in the middle than it is anywhere else most of the time. Then it'll start curving up toward that corner. But especially if you're doing a guy, don't take that line all the way to the edge. Because if you take that line all the way to the edge, it's going to look like they have lipstick on. So now that really wiggly line that I had here isn't looking quite so weird. It's looking a little bit more normal. Now, before we're done, we have to darken this corner right here, because the three darkest parts of the face are the pupil, the nostril, and the corners of the mouth. So I'm darkening that. You will also, and you can see that on Mr. Chris here. It's real dark here. It's also got a little bit of a dark spot kind of here on either side of the tubercle. Now with his head is angled up a little bit, so you get a little bit more of the darkness coming further in and then less here in the middle. If their mouth is open any at all, that will affect it. Here with this model, it's a little bit darker right there. So you can add some other areas that are a little bit dark just to give a little bit more sense of depth to your face. And there we are, getting to be a lot more uniform. Now, before we do the ears, we need to address our chin. In most of the ones that I measured, The chin needs to extend just a little bit further. And what you can do, you can use something you've already drawn to measure how much further, whether you're measuring from the center of the eyes to the tip of the nose, or maybe you're measuring the depth of the lips to see how much further you need to go. And just using this model as an example, I'm measuring from the center of the eyes to the tip of the nose. And then when I scoot that measurement down, that's going to take me from the bottom of the philtrum to the chin. So I'm going to use that as a measurement. I'm going to go from between the eyes to the tip of the nose. And then I'm going to go from the top of the philtrum, and that will give me a new place to move my chin to. Now, in general, your chin is going to be the same width as your mouth, which makes sense. They're strongly related. So I'm going to have my chin just gently curving about the width of the mouth. Then I'm going to come up to the side of the face. And now you got to think about what shape your face needs to have. Hers is oval, and it doesn't really corner much at all at that jawline. So it's, yes, there's a little bit, but not much. On the other hand, this person has a very strong cornering of the jaw. This one, nice and sloping. On this lady, hers has a pretty good corner there. It's a little bit, her head is turned slightly, so it's a little bit more gentle here, but she does have a strong corner to her jaw. This one is kind of a cross between an oval and a square face. So you've got a little bit of a corner, but it's a very rounded corner. So look at your person and see how, where that corner of the jaw is going to happen is just, if you take your mouth straight out and go down just a smidge, because what it is that if you take the mouth, the line of the mouth out, that's where the top of the teeth are, and the corner of your jaw happens underneath your teeth. So you take the line out and scoot down about how deep your teeth would be, and that's where the corner of your jaw will be. And then about how deep your teeth are, and that's the corner of your jaw. So now I'm going to bring this line down, and then I want to make sure I come under where the teeth would be, and then I start angling toward my jaw over here. Come down from the side of the face, reach where the bottom of the teeth would be, and then I'm going to start angling toward my chin. And then I lean back and I look, does that have too much of a corner there or not enough? And I can adjust. I can give it more of a corner at that jaw, or same here. Is that too much of a corner? Do I want to have that rounding a little bit more gently there? And this is where you make adjustments. So I think I'm going to pull in the corners just a smidge, like that. And there is my new face. So let's back that out and look at that. Look at my pretty person here. I'm going to clean up some of my lines that we've used. And because I drew very, very lightly, I can erase without any problem. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cause some seasickness with the camera. I wasn't paying attention to that. So this is looking a bit like Glenn Close. And she wasn't even the person I was trying to draw. I was just trying to draw a generic face. Okay. This side's coming out a little more than that side. If you are trying to accentuate some cheekbones, they're going to be kind of out level with the nose, or starting about where the top of the nostril is, somewhere in there. And so you can put some little cheekbones in there. Now, for the ears, if the face is level, are going to match up with the eyebrows. Depending on how the head is tilted, it may be the top of the eyebrows or it may be the bottom of the eyebrows. With this model, it is the top of his eyebrows. With this model, now her head is tilted back just a little bit, and so it's really more kind of underneath her eyebrows, about where her lid is. Henry Cavill, his face is pretty level. Well, it must be tilted back a little bit because his ears are right about where his lids are. Chris Hemsworth, his ears are the top of his brow. So look to your model and see how best to match that up. Oh, the bottom of the ears will be about where the bottom of the nose is. If the top of the ears is lower than the top of the brow, then the bottom of the ears will be lower than the bottom of the nose. So use your pencil to line up and see where to match things up. So I'm going to match up with the brows and the bottom of the nose. So I can bring a line through here to there, bring it all the way across to there. I'm just putting a little bit of a hint of a line, then bottom of the nose, bottom of the nose. And that gives me my places for the ears to go. And I'll lower that back down. There we go. Can't really see that line there. So the ear shape. Some ears are more round. Some ears are larger at the top, get narrow at the bottom. Some ears are almost a half a peanut, but they're almost always larger at the top. You know, Henry Cavill's, his are more of that just round. Hemsworth, his are a little bit of that peanut shape. This model is more or less that round, except it kind of flattens in the middle. This one is angled, and it kind of angles in and then comes in. So just look to your model and see what the shape is. But I'm going to make mine where they come out a little bit and then start angling back in and then tuck in. And once again, unlike I just did, if you're right-handed, do the left one first. If you're left-handed, do the right one first. If you forget and you need to be able to see, either angle your paper or flip it upside down. And that will work as well. You can still get yours symmetrical that way, or fairly so. We never try to put bring too much attention or put a whole lot of detail to the ears, because the more detail you put in the ears, the more attention people are going to pay to it. And you really want people to know that they're there and forget about them. I don't put a whole lot of detail. You'll have that little bitty hood of a fold there. Usually you'll have where the lobe, the lower lobe part is, if your ears are pierced, you'll have that. Then a little bump here just as you're going into the ear. And then you'll have some different kind of creases. They're called helix and anti-helix, creating shadows and stuff kind of in here. And I just kind of vaguely allude to those, and I don't put a lot of detail. You will have to shade some in there, but I'm not going to. It used to be more in that area, but sometimes, depending on who your model is and how their hair is fixed, that might actually be covered up by hair. So you won't be putting a whole lot more detail than that right there to the ears. The only thing you can't do is pretend they're not there, unless they're completely covered up and you can't see them. Now, for the neck, let's look at necks. We want to make sure that we don't do a popsicle neck or lollipop neck. And by that, I mean a super skinny neck on a great big head, because then it looks like a lollipop or a popsicle. Let's look at Mr. Henry Cavill, and you'll see that his neck starts almost, now his head is turned just slightly, and I can tell that because I can see his neck all the way up to the ear there, and on this side it runs into the jaw. So that's how one of the ways I know that his head is turned ever so slightly. But you can on a guy, you can come almost down from where the jaw corners and create the neck. On a female, and this has to do with how muscles are distributed, and a lot of times guys have tried to increase those muscles, whereas girls are less likely to do so. Our neck will come in a little bit closer from where it corners. Still, we don't want a popsicle neck. or lollipop neck, but you want to come in on a girl just a little bit more from where it corners, and that surface is sloped. It has a bit of an inward curve to it. Not, I mean, it's more or less mostly straight. Now, it doesn't come down a long way before you start running into the trapezius muscle, which the trapezius muscle is this muscle right here. Now, sometimes you might have a collar that's interfering with you being able to see the trapezius, and then you'll have to adjust for that. But your person will look much more natural if just a couple inches below where you have it coming from the jaw to the neck, you start showing the slope for that trapezius. Okay, I think I still have a little bit too much of a corner on her jaw there. There we go. That looks better. And in the next video, which I may not get posted until tomorrow, we will deal with hair. So I'll see you then.